Do you want to know how to talk to your child's teacher about concerns? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about the self-government way to voice concerns. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the parent and teacher roles in respect to the child, and then how to bring up concerns that you might have as a parent with your teacher. The very first book that I wrote, and I've written 15 books now, the very first book that I wrote was this one called Parenting a House United. This book is a book that talks about how to create an environment where parents can teach their children self-government and their children will learn self-government. When I wrote this book, I thought that everybody understood roles. And then people started asking me questions about their children, about themselves, and I realized people in our society do not have a firm grip on what roles are. In fact, many people are even afraid of the concept of roles. So I ended up having to write this book here, which is called Roles: The Secret to Family, Business, and Social Success. And I highly recommend reading over this book at some point, either with your children as a read aloud or by yourself and having the conversations here. But I wanted to bring up the concept of roles because when you have teachers and parents both working with children, sometimes there's a little bit of role confusion and there can be some frustration, some communication breakdowns, even some assumptions and judgment because people don't understand the roles. So let's talk about the role of parent. What is the role of parent? Parents are teachers. That's the main role. That can seem a little bit like a conflict with teacher then, right? This is why there can be struggles. Many people know, in fact, most schools around the world would acknowledge, oh, parents are the main authority. Parents are the ones that have the most rights, to teach and guide the child and stuff. But when the child is there, the schools have something called local parentis, which means that the parent has turned over the right of being the parent to the teacher or to the school or the district at the time that this child is there, which means that that school now can call an ambulance, can do some corrections for the child, all those types of things. All the things that a parent would do to make sure a child stays healthy and safe. So then when the parent comes to the school and says, hey, listen, I'm the parent, the school sometimes has a little bit of a struggle recognizing whether that's true or not. It is absolutely still true when the parent is there or when the parent is saying, this is what I want done. Their authority supersedes the authority of the school. So how would we then describe the role of the teacher? I would say the teacher is supposed to be a second witness to the parent. And it's sad that that's not always the case. Sometimes teachers are even working contradictory to what parents would want to have happen. Sometimes they're not taking the parents into account at all and they're trying to undermine the parents. I would say that's not most cases though. Hopefully that's more the rarity. But there are those rare cases where teachers think that they know better than parents. And you know what? Maybe they do occasionally, and so then this goes to their head. I don't know. But at the end of the day, if you're the parent and if you're having concern with what's going on with the teacher, maybe it's concerns with your child's behavior or maybe it's concerns with the teacher's behavior, you should definitely not be afraid to bring things to the teacher's attention. And hopefully they're prepared with the skills that they need for self-government to be able to accept the criticism and maybe even correction from you. If you've already subscribed to this channel, then you know that everything on here relates to the principle of self-government, to being able to be calm and effective in your communication, to have self-regulation, to be able to accept criticism, corrections, no answers, instructions, to disagree appropriately with other people, to really have meaningful, united conversations. So let's talk about how to do that when it comes to bringing up concerns with the teacher. I do believe that before you can talk about anything of substance, you have to make sure that you have a decent, healthy connection with the teacher. Even if you are very different from the teacher, even if your worldviews, your ideologies do not match, there are ways that you can actually warm up to a person, or maybe feel like at least you're coming to them with a place of understanding. I do believe in the principle, seek to understand, then to be understood. So as you are starting the conversation with the teacher, make sure that you come to the conversation with unity and that spirit of understanding. Maybe even giving them the benefit of the doubt, especially if the correction or the concern that you have has to do with their behavior. So I might start out the conversation with a statement like this: hey, you do so much to serve these children, and I know that you are stretched really thin and there's a lot of things that you're dealing with. I'm wondering that if we had a little bit of a conversation, if I could maybe make things a little bit easier for you, especially with my child. Okay, so now what you're saying is, you know what, I'm here to help you. I'm your advocate, even though really that's not the roles, okay? The roles is they're supposed to help you, but you're being kind, you're being social, you're explaining that you appreciate them. That starts things off on a really good note. You'll want to acknowledge the intentions that the teacher has. I know that you are trying to give each child individually what they need, and you've got this broad range of people that you're working with, and this is likely very difficult. Okay, so that's something that you're going to want to acknowledge. You have a hard job to do. I see all the things that you're doing. This lets them know that when you give them some sort of feedback, maybe it's a criticism or a correction of some sort, that it's not that you're judging them harshly because you do see everything, you've seen the full picture, you're just bringing a little piece to their attention. It makes it a little bit easier for them to take it. Then when you're going to talk about the problem that you actually want to bring up to them, make sure that you stay descriptive. So if you've subscribed to this channel already, then you know that we describe instead of react. If you get emotional and judgmental, the conversation will go nowhere. The teacher will feel threatened. Your child may suffer the result of that. Hopefully they're not that petty, but you just never know. And so the better thing to do is to make sure that you just describe, hey, Johnny told me that the other day when he was trying to get help from you on an assignment, this happened. Or he told me that in class this type of behavior has been going on a lot lately, and it's been hard for him because, and just kind of explain the little narrative story of what's happening, and try not to get super emotional about it. Don't dive too deep into other people's emotions. Like, explain what the circumstance is, but don't take it personal. So the next thing you want to do is invite them to be a partner with you on solving the problem. Say, you know, what do you think could solve the problem? Are there things that you think that I could do on my end of things to help him be able to be more resilient or to understand what's going on? But are there changes that you can make too? You know, asking those types of questions, making sure that they know you want their input. You're not just there to tell them what to do and to pull rank. No one who has to do local parentis all day long wants to have somebody else come in to tell them they're doing it wrong. So, you know, be mindful of that. Now comes a time where you can actually say what you think is happening that's wrong, right? Okay, so this is the part that is concerning to me. And do it in a way that's kind. You know, I know that you may not recognize you're coming across that way, but this is how my son is taking it. This is what I suggest we do in the future. And whatever solution you bring in, have it be a self-government solution. Have it be something where you can say, you know, there's a skill that I've been working on with him. It's called accepting a no answer. And it sounds like he's maybe having a hard time remembering that he doesn't get your attention all of the time, and that could be frustrating. What if you use this language where you said to him, hey, that's a no answer. You'll need to drop the subject for now. If you told him that, he would know you know the same skills, and it might trigger his brain to remember that he can drop the subject. He can wait and be patient in these circumstances. Do you think that that might work? So now you're bringing a solution to the table that they don't know maybe, but you're doing it in a way where you're getting their approval on the solution as well. You want to make sure that the conversation's full of reassuring statements so that they know that you really do care about them. The reassuring statement might be something like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be super easy for you, especially with all of the skills that you already have as a teacher and all the issues that you're facing all of the time. So that's something where it's like, I'm not judging you again. Maybe you could even say something like, listen, sometimes we just don't know what we don't know, but there's just a little bit of a skill gap here. Maybe you could say, you know, he's used to understanding these skills and it could make it easier if he heard some of that same language. You know, just bringing in a little bit there. And I think maybe even just saying to the teacher, you know, all of these children are so different. It can be really hard to handle all these situations at the same time, and I completely understand that. You're doing such a great job. Maybe understanding these self-government skills would help you not just help my son, but maybe even help other people's children also. It could maybe make your life a little easier. I know at home it's been easier for me since I've learned these things. And then you could just refer the teacher to the Teaching Self-Government channel. Maybe refer her to this next video, which goes into more details about how she can correct skills that she can use. The video is called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. Also, there are videos on this channel related to teaching. You might want to look at those and see if some of those videos could be more appropriate.